Hey everyone, welcome back to Game 5 of my May tournament here. I have the white pieces against my second highest rated opponent of the tournament, and I'm on 3 out of 4 going into the last round. I'm trying to win so that I can maybe place in the top 3 here. If I get 4 out of 5, I can place in the top 3, but I have a stiff challenge ahead of me with my opponent, Harry Demarest, 1617 rated against me around 1150. So let's get into the game. I play e4 here, and then we get e5, and I play knight f3, fully expecting to go into the main line of the Scotch here with d4. However, we get knight f6. And here I already took quite a long thing because I wasn't sure, because I knew that after knight c3 we could get a very symmetrical position here, and I could actually go transpose back into the Scotch here with a move like d4, but I forgot. Let me actually click on this so that I can get the analysis here. Sorry. Yeah, so I know like d4 is a move here, and we can transpose into the Scotch this way too. But I didn't actually want to go for this because this is known to be quite an equal line, and I don't really like my chances as white going into that line, and I figure the stronger player will probably be able to win in the drawn position. So we do get this though. I do end up playing knight c3 and knight c6, but here I played the move bishop c4 because I don't want to play d4. And here you can see already that the evaluation is not liking my position so much, because black can play this very kind of thematic idea. Knight takes e4 here, and after I take back, d5 forks the two pieces here, and then after bishop d3, which is what was played in the game, black can take and then be happy here. So I decide to take because otherwise I would have just lost a pawn for free. So I have to take here. So right out of the opening, I'm already under pressure here. I'm already taking a little bit of time to think. So d5, I take a little bit of time to think again here, and I play the move bishop to d3, which is a good move. And here my opponent should take the knight and then continue development with like bishop to d6, etc. But instead he plays the move f5 here. Which is a very interesting move. It's not a losing blunder by any means. I mean, the advantage is only 0.3 here, but the reason for it is that it's just like too much. Just simplify the position, take what you can get, and then move on. But here I play the move knight to g5. Obviously, the idea is after I move the knight, now the pawn goes to e4 and forks my other two pieces here. And here I play bishop to b5, getting out of the way. He takes my knight, and I take back. Okay, so the dust is settled out of the opening here, and the material is equal. He's got some pawns in the center. They might be weaknesses. They also have a good grip on e4 here. And in general, I'm going to put a pawn on d4. I'm going to castle. We're going to both develop, and then we'll see where we go. So we get bishop to d7. I castle here. Bishop to e7. And I play the move rook to e1 here, just pinning the bishop, but castles is fine anyway. I play the move d4 here, a6, bishop to a4. Here is technically a little inaccurate. I think bishop to d3 was better. Bishop takes c6 was actually the best move here, which is a little bit counterintuitive because what is the idea of bishop takes c6 is that now you just want to play the bishop here, and then you put the pawn on c3, put the knight on e5, and you say that you have a better position. So the idea is that this knight is going to be very hard to get rid of, and eventually black might decide to give up the dark square bishop for the knight anyway. And then you might have a good bishop on e5, and you might have some attack on the king side here. So nevertheless, I didn't go for this. I decided why trade the bishop when you can just move it to a4? And my idea here is, look at this pawn on d5 in line with the king, and it's quite weak. So my opponent plays bishop to f6, and I'll play bishop to b3. And my idea is I want to take this pawn and spin to the king. So that's pretty nice. And here, my opponent, it's actually very difficult to defend this pawn. You could play the move knight e7. That looks very ugly, though. It disconnects all your pieces, gets in the way of everything. and then you want to play c6. But maybe this was the way to go for my opponent. Instead, he plays bishop to e8, which is also fine. Again, now the queen defends the pawn. And I play the move c3, defending my pawn, which may be a little slow, but here bishop to f7 is played. So he cuts the pin and continues over defending the pawn in the center. Here I play the move queen d3, best move. We get g6, and here I play bishop f4, again the best move. So I've reached like a pretty perfect position against someone rated 500 points more than me here. And he's kind of lost everything from this opening. He has a weak center pawn. He has a weak king side. I have the only open file. I have both bishops. This bishop is maybe right now not so impressive, but it's always putting pressure on this pawn, and it's a challenge to deal with. And this bishop is also doing very well. It has prospects in the future of going to h6. The knight can jump to the center. My queen is active, ready to swing over to the king side. Everything in my position is in harmony over here. So we get queen to d7, and here I play h4, which is not a bad move. In fact, it might even be in the top suggestions of the computer here. Yeah, it's the third move from the computer, but I think this is like the beginning of taking the position into a slightly wrong, a position where I wasn't able to manage it as well. You know what I mean? So I played the move h4. The idea of this is I want to put my knight on g5, or maybe a bishop on g5, and that way it'll be really strong, pressure everything. And if h6 happens, that's just a weakening of the position for black. So I go h4. We get rook to e8, offering a trade of rooks. I play knight to g5 here. We take the rooks, and he offers another trade of rooks here. Here I'm completely winning, as in it's +2 advantage if I just swap the rooks here. And after queen takes e8, I can take the bishop here. Queen takes, and I'm much better apparently, because after a move like h5 apparently is a move here, but queen f3 targeting the pawn on d5. I should be easily winning. There's no way you can never take over here, because again bishop here pins the queen to the king, and that would be a very sad way to go. So we get it. But nevertheless, I don't trade here. Instead, I make a very big inaccuracy here. I played the move rook to e2. The idea of which is I want to recapture the queen here, and after I recapture the queen, I'll have the open file again. So that was my idea. However, that's not the way to go here, unfortunately. And after this happens, my opponent plays knight e7, which is a slight inaccuracy apparently, but the idea again is just to go c6 and solidify the pawn in the center here. And here, apparently my winning move is queen to e3, which I could not explain to you if I wanted to. So I don't know, I'm just going to not explain it. So I played g3 here, solidifying my structure here. Again, I think my biggest mistake in this game was not that I played badly, but that I played too slowly or too carefully in certain positions, and I was respecting my opponent a little too much in some of the positions, because he's 500 points higher rated than me. But in reality, like, I could have pressed more if I was aware of the fact that I knew I was better, but I was still playing cautiously, because that's one of the things when I play over the board in long chess. I play a lot more carefully than like in online or something. So I played g3. We got c6. I played bishop to e5 here, and my opponent correctly. The only move here to remain in a slightly drawn position is to take the knight here, and so he does. My pawns are doubled, but now I have an excellent grip, and I fixed all of these pawns. So in the end game, this pawn is actually a good thing, and I can probably play f4 if I wanted to, but I could also just move the bishop to f4. I could also put the bishop on f6, and all of these will happen in the future, as you'll see. So we get king to f8 here. I play bishop to f6, and the queen goes to e6 to defend. And here I trade, which is fine. And then I play a4. The idea of this, again, the idea of a4 is I'm just trying to not give my opponent any breathing space. So the idea of that is I want to prevent any b5, so I want to actually play a5 at some point, and so that the knight can never reroute to the b6 square and then to the c4 square. So if I play, a5, then there's no b6. So that's my idea here. So the knight goes there, and now I actually play bishop here. The idea of which being, I was scared that if I play a5 right here, then there is knight here, and then now the knight is getting into these squares through the d6 square. So instead of a5, I play bishop back to d1, and my idea is after the knight comes to d6 or to b6, I'm going to play the move b3 and keep things together. Like here, if the knight hits the a4, d6 doesn't make any sense, but now I can just play b3, and I can stop the knight from getting in. For knight d6, it's slightly different because the knight isn't actually attacking the pawn here because the bishop defends it. Anyway, sorry, what's happening here? Oh yeah. So we trade the queens, a4, knight c8. I play bishop to d1, and then we get knight to d6, and here I play the move f3. So I'll actually allow the knight to get into c4 because I didn't want the knight to come here and offer an exchange of the bishops. Just if I play b3 here, it's still fine, but it gets a little bit dicey because I can't move if I move the bishop here, then after king here, I have to move the bishop back and get it traded here, and then black is actually much better here because they can just come and take the pawn, and then they'll be up a pawn in the endgame. So I didn't want to do that, and so I play f3. That's the reason b3 doesn't work after knight d6, by the way. Sorry, I forgot that. So instead I play f3, and then the knight goes back to e8 here, and I play bishop to e5. Again, I can't let myself get taken on the f6 square because then king f7 will win the pawn. So we get king to e7. I play a5 now. The knight goes to d6, and here I'm winning if I take the knight on d6, because after this, my pawns fix the pawns of black on light squares. If you notice, all of black's pawns are on light squares now, which is terrible for two reasons. One, he has a light square bishop, and it's behind the pawns, right? So there's physically no way, unless he moves a pawn, there's physically no way for the bishop to get into the game. It has to stay behind the pawns. Second, the second reason is my bishop is also a light square bishop. So if I manage to fix all of the pawns on light squares here, b4 is not the best move, but just for example, then in the future, my bishop is going to be able to target all of those pawns. If my bishop gets, say, to c8, it's going to be able to eat all of these pawns like Pac-Man. So that's the second idea of this advantage for me. So I didn't evaluate it correctly though, and I decided why do I want to give up the bishop? Let's just play a move like king f2. The knight goes out, hits the pawn on a5, and here again I missed something with the move b3. As in, I missed the move b3 because I thought, yeah, I'm just losing the knight on the pawn on a5. But I missed in this position that I have the move bishop to c7, which traps the knight on the edge of the board. And the knight has no squares because the pawn's guarded by the bishop. This is here. It's blocked by its own pawns here. So you have to play the move b6, interposing in between the bishop and the knight. Bishop takes, and now the knight gets out through b7. But look at these pawns now for black. They're much more difficult to defend after a move like, b4 and bishop e2. It's very difficult to actually defend the pawn on a6. So I missed this variation here, but after I think b3 was quite a winning move here. Instead, I play the move b4, which is a dead draw. It's a dead draw because there's no mobility in the position anymore. I can't move any pawn without losing one. I can try to do something here on the king side, but but everything is fixed, and my bishop here is going to be taken also. So he goes back to d6. He should have probably just he might have just been able to trade here actually, but this actually looks maybe like a bad move too because I get a protected pass pawn here. So a good thing he didn't take. Instead, he plays knight to d6. I play bishop to e2 here. Again, I just want to have any opportunity to, because if the knight comes to b5, my pawn is under attack. So if the knight goes to b5, I will take it, and that'll be a draw. So knight goes back and attacks the bishop and the pawn here. And here I play the move bishop to f6 check. The king goes to the side, and here I play king to e3, the knight goes back to d6. Here I play king to f4 and offer a draw to my opponent, and we agree on a draw here. So what the reflections on this game, again, I really played a great game. I was never worse in this game. Like the evaluation never, after the move knight takes e4, I guess this was the part where it showed a little bit of disadvantage for me after knight takes e4, but after this it never showed me, and this is not actually worse for me, it's just fine. And after this, I just never looked back. I was always better after this, you know? After this whole thing, like after this point, I was never worse in the game, which is quite an accomplishment against someone 1600 rated over the board. So that made me very happy here. And the fact that I, played a little timidly, a little cautiously, a little incorrectly at times with like b4 instead of b3, not taking the knight on d6 here, and maybe playing a4 instead of like other moves, whatever. All of that is just a learning experience. Of course, I know that I played a little suboptimally in the game, but also all said and done, I played a pretty great game, and I had a pretty great result too. And I ended this tournament with 3.5 out of 5, as I said in the first recap. I ended with 3.5 out of 5. I gained, I think after this tournament, I was rated like 1230 or something, so I gained like 80 points or something. I don't know how that happened. No, maybe it was because I played two tournaments. That was before as well. So across this tournament and the one before this, I gained like some 80 points. And yeah, it was just a really great experience, and I appreciate y'all for checking in and following it with me. And in the days to come, we'll go back to some regular programming with the games and puzzles, and I have some cool games that I want to show you as well. So with that, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in maybe tonight's stream. Join the Discord. Come check out the stream every now and then. I don't have a strict schedule yet, but I will be streaming around 10:30 p.m. PST. So with that, bye bye. Take care. See you later.